Knowing this is going to provide security for you long term.
Hi, I'm Hallie, and welcome to the enlightenHer YouTube channel. I'm with Heather here, and today we're going to be talking about the relationship money blind spots that cost women long-term security. And I know this can be an uncomfortable topic that women kind of shy away from, so I think it's really important that we talk about it today, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say, Heather.
Thanks, Hallie. This episode is really geared for women who are married or in a committed relationship where they're commingling finances. Now, we are going to talk about some of the blind spots that women have when they are sharing finances with their spouse. This isn't about a woman being bad with money, and it's not about how you're managing it. It's about the dynamics in the relationship that will shape the financial outcomes over time. There are 3 common relationship-based money blind spots that can really cost a woman long-term security. The first one is assuming that love equals protection, right? It's assuming so many women and clients that say, well, we're a team, right? My husband can be trusted. We trust each other. He's got it handled. The truth is, you can love each other. He may have it handled, and he may do an excellent job at managing your money. And you may trust each other implicitly, but you still need to have a seat at the table. You need to know where all of your accounts are. You need to know your passwords. You need to know any debt that you have. Knowing this is going to provide security for you long term. And I'm going to go to a place that we often don't want to talk about, but that is if a spouse suddenly passes away. It's all too common where I see a husband managing the household finances. He passes away, and the wife is not only navigating the grief and the loss of her partner, of her spouse, of the person that she has learned to lean on for everything. She now is responsible for all the bills. She is now responsible for continuing life for herself or her kids, and she can't even open up the accounts or doesn't even know what accounts they have. And that's another level of grief that she has to navigate. And so knowing what you have, how to access it is so important. So yes, you can love your spouse, you can love your partner, he can protect you, but you still need to have access, and you still need to have a seat at the table to understand where your money is. Does that sound good? I know that you're not married yet, but you think about how you want your relationship to look like as you're putting finances together. Does this seem like something that you would want to do, or does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's definitely really important. I hear a lot of stories, and I feel very lucky that I have a family that's very financially healthy, but you hear a lot of stories and you just don't want to end up like that or have the people around you end up like that.
Absolutely, because security, it comes from shared knowledge, not from shared intentions. So you and your spouse or your partner may have shared intentions to take care of the money well, but you need to have that shared knowledge. And that brings me to the blind spot number 2, which is women who avoid money conversations to keep the peace. That it seems like anytime they bring up something about money, and sometimes it centers around spending it, there seems to be an argument or there seems to be discourse. And so for a lot of women who want to keep people happy, they want to please others, they want to avoid conflict, they don't bring up money conversations. And money conflict can feel threatening, especially for women who value harmony, so they will soften their message, they'll delay talking about something, or they'll stay quiet. But silence has a cost, especially when it comes to finances. And avoiding conversations often turns into avoiding planning and long-term vulnerability. And this kind of goes back to the conversation that I just mentioned about if someone passes away. It is so important to have a conversation about estate planning. It is so important to have a conversation about a will or a living will. And you don't want to think about that. You don't want to think about life when one of you passes. That is the reality. And you can't come back from the grave and make things right. You can't come back from the grave and protect. And so your spouse may be planning all of this and wanting to take care of you, but if you don't know where all of that is, it's not going to do you any good when that time comes. And so having these hard conversations, making these decisions when you're both of a sound mind and can talk about it is so important. And if you're listening and you're like, Heather, that sounds great, but you don't know my spouse or you don't know my partner, I just can't. I want to tell you that then that's a relationship issue and dynamic, and that is something that I want to encourage you to address, because we can't have a healthy relationship if we can't navigate conflict. And it's really important. And if you're just starting out, you may have to have baby conversations, or you may have to have these conversations in front of a life coach or a counselor or an estate planner. But it is so important to not delay financial conversations to keep the peace. So I know that was a whole lot right there, and I was getting on a roll, Hallie, but what are your thoughts on that?
I really liked what you said about how women try to be soft or try to avoid the conflict, but it's so important that we don't, especially for women in general. We do that in a lot of ways. And I just think at this point in time, like a lot of us, we are working, we are making money. We need to have a little more ownership over our finances and also ownership of our choices. Like, you work for that money, you should want to have a little protectiveness over yourself, which can be hard. And it's not saying they don't trust who they're with or anyone, but it's being like, even if, oh, my husband is different or this person is different, like, I'm different. I'm different. I should be able to talk about it and know what I'm doing with my finances for me, not against them. But if they get to know, why don't I get to know? So I think it's good to talk about, because we can want to put it off because it's not like my favorite. I feel like it's not a lot of people's favorite. But there's parts of it that can be really exciting, because you just feel like you have more autonomy over your life, and then you get to choose what you do with your life together, not like one is choosing it for you.
And you work through those hard conversations together, which I think how you handle conflict as a couple can either drive you apart or bring you closer. And I think that what you said too, you can want to provide for your wife or take care of her, and she can still be in the know. And in our culture, things are so black and white. You do this or you do that. And there is a duality. If a husband is managing the finances and he likes doing it and he is trustworthy and he can manage that, and his wife can be in the know.
Yeah, she knows what's happening.
Yes, it doesn't mean you don't your spouse if you want to know where everything is. It means you are a partnership and you want to be prepared and you want to have all that information so that, God forbid, something were to happen, you're protected. It's just important to have those conversations. And so blind spot number 3 that I see a lot with clients is confusing being flexible with having boundaries. So many women will adjust or accommodate or carry the financial stress because it feels easier than having that tough conversation or pushing back. And boundaries is a huge topic. And when women say yes when something doesn't feel right, or they absorb some risk to keep things running smoothly, that flexibility without boundaries can really erode security for a woman. And here's really the truth that I see a lot, is that you can be in a loving relationship and still need financial clarity. You can trust your spouse or partner and protect yourself. These things are not opposites. This is the duality that we're talking about. And awareness is not pessimism, it's wisdom. Being aware and being in the know is wisdom. And long-term security isn't built in one big moment. It is built in everyday conversations, shared visibility, and clear boundaries. And if you recognize yourself here, this is not about regret. This is about readiness. So if you're watching this and you're like, I've been married 25 years and I have no clue. First of all, you're not alone. And you start from where you are. And this is where you can have a conversation with your spouse. I appreciate how you manage our finances. I trust you and I love you. And I would like to come alongside of you and be a part of this. Now, I have worked with some clients who have had that conversation, and in the beginning, the husband kind of wonders what's going on, because this is different. She's never wanted to know anything about finances, and now she wants to be involved. You can validate how you trust and how you appreciate it, and share that you want to help carry it. You want to be in the know. You want to be prepared so that if something were to happen, you know where all the assets are. And you start slowly and you start having those conversations. And if you don't have all the passwords, there's a good program called LastPass, which can help store those passwords and then help you one password that can get you into all of your accounts. But making some small changes, having these conversations, and if you are a woman and it is hard for you to set boundaries, or it is hard for you to advocate for yourself, you are not alone. You are not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. I don't want you piling shame or guilt on yourself. But you start slow. And if boundaries are something that's hard for you, it's a great opportunity for you to start having a conversation with maybe a coach or a counselor or maybe a trusted friend, where you can start to set boundaries with people that you trust and learn how to do that and how to advocate. Because I think for women, we just want to keep the peace, and so we slowly lose who we are to please everyone else. And there's no shame in that. It's just sometimes how we're raised, how we navigate, but it's so important to be able to have those boundaries and have those tough conversations. So what do you think about that last blind spot?
Yeah, I think it's something that we're not really taught, and it's something that's not always intuitive. The way that we're set up as women in society is not set up to be the person who's making the strong boundaries. A man has plenty of boundaries even if he doesn't call it that. I feel like they set these things and then you respect them, but sometimes women do get pushback more because it's just not as common, I think. But now I feel like we do have more of the language for it, so I do hope that it gets better. If you're facing your finances, you're going to face a lot of life things in that. It can be hard, but it would make you not just good with your finances, but better as a person overall, because it can be complicated or just very an emotional topic. So I feel like if you start little by little working on your finances, it will just help you grow as a human too.
Boundaries is something that every human needs to work on, but especially women. We've been conditioned to, that it's somehow a gift when we put ourselves down to lift others up. And we can do both. Yeah, we can do both. We can advocate for ourselves and be a strong partner or a strong wife. We can do both.
Yeah, I love that. With boundaries, people feel like you said, they're trying to avoid it, but I think also when you have a lot of feelings that you're not expressing, that's also uncomfortable. Sometimes I will literally get a stomach ache before I confront someone, not in a mean way, but just pick up a conversation. But then afterwards, I feel so much better even than when before I started, because you just don't want to be holding on to that something that can affect how you act towards them, even subconsciously, and it's just better to get it all out.
So I just think it's important that women understand that the most powerful financial position a woman can have is clarity inside of her relationships, is knowing what is coming in, what is coming out, and having that transparent relationship with her spouse or partner. If you're watching this episode and you're like, yes, this resonates with you, we would love it if you would like it, share it, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to go deeper, if you're like, yes, I need to have this conversation, yes, I need to do some estate planning with my spouse, I need to do this, but I just don't know where to start, that's where we're here to help you. So click the link. I'd love to have a call. I do the personal money mentoring mindset calls. We'd be happy to jump on a call with you and help you walk through that, help you put those conversations together, and get you on a path of financial empowerment. So thanks, Hallie. I really enjoyed our conversation, and until next time.
Thank you, Heather.